I'm Johnny Millennium, and this is Victor Lucas, and this is Film Fury. And today we're going to review the new Pixar movie, Coco.
Yes, I dragged you out to this one. You're not a big fan of the animated CG
No,
stuff.
don't say that. I love animated films. I was just a little bit nervous going into this. I'm like, really? Okay, like, you know, maybe it's a kid's movie. I thought that going in.
It's not really a kid's movie,
It's not
is
really
it?
a kid's movie.
Yes.
We got to get into that.
Yes.
Did you like this movie?
I really did like this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Pixar's best. I'm going to say that right off the top.
Yeah, I can say that.
But I did really like the direction of the film. This is obviously a movie about the Day of the Dead and the celebrations around that, using that as kind of the cornerstone to tell a story about the importance of family and bonding and tradition and remembering the people that matter to you the most.
Yes,
in
so it's a very family-oriented story.
It's about
and
family. Yeah.
And you know, you need that for families. Like, we were
Yeah.
surrounded by families and kids. They were knocking over their
Yes.
popcorn. They had a great time, but I was wondering, were they terrified watching this movie?
It's a bit freaky because obviously we've all seen the trailers. It's lots of skeletons talking to each other and a living kid surrounded by
Miguel,
dead people,
yeah.
Miguel. And it's also a tale, I think, to kind of centered around some Latin American traditions, and there's a lot of Latino actors in here. Some of the more famous ones are like Edward James Olmos, Benjamin Bratt, who plays this famous singer, and Ernesto de la Cruz, I believe is the character's name, and then Gael Garcia Bernal, who plays Hector in this movie, and also a very memorable character. And there's lots of singing. There's some cool sort of huge musical numbers.
It is a regular Pixar movie in that sense of the way.
Yeah, but Pixar isn't really doing the musical thing
Well,
so
no,
much.
and they didn't overdo the musical thing. It wasn't in your face. It was just like nice musical numbers that were small.
Yes.
Just to tell a point in the story.
Yes, so it's not like Frozen, it's not like Tangled, it's not like the Disney animated stuff. This is the Pixar brand, and so the Pixar brand, I think, does a little bit better of a job of bringing in an adult audience and being movies that are
making the kids happy, making the parents chuckle at a bit of the older humor and stuff like that.
And there's also usually a little bit more of a challenging element in here. And I would say that the idea of mortality being so front and center, and there are some
But that
ideas,
faces everybody.
Yes.
And everybody's family. That's why it's a very relatable
I know,
story.
but in animated work, we don't really see it so head on. Usually it's just kind of alluded to. Like in Frozen, parents just disappear. We don't really get a sense of their impending doom.
But in this one, there is like a bit of an afterlife that they show you, and it's not so evil and brutal. It's like, as long as your family remembers you, you'll be okay.
But then there is the afterlife, which is the mega thread in this film.
Where if somebody forgets you, you're gone.
And that is, I think, the root and the core of the darkness in this movie, which it happily explores, and I think you get some tremendous value out of. The thing that kind of took it down for me a little bit, because I think it's a classic, and I think it's worth seeing again and again.
Do you think it's a classic? I don't really think it's a classic. I think it's very good.
I do because it's so unique.
Yeah.
In the Disney Pixar pantheon, and I think because of that, it's like they're going from cultural idea to cultural idea. They're with Frozen, they're sort of looking at the Scandinavian culture. With Moana, they're looking at the sort of Polynesian sort of the island life culture. And I think this kind of explores an element of Latino culture, and because of that, I think it deserves our sort of recognition and our attention, and it also delivers entertainment-wise. But the problem I had with the film, and it's I'm picking at bones here, literally and figuratively. But my challenge is with the skeleton stuff. We've seen that in so many movies where jaws drop and eyes fall into things, and
the old humor stuff, yeah.
And it wasn't funny. Like it wasn't that charming because we've seen skeletons in cartoons so many times.
And I just think it's because it's the undead. It's even kind of creepier. It's kind of weird and surreal. And I wasn't looking at me watching the movie. This stuff doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
I was looking at all the kids. All the kids were silent. And they almost didn't know. There's this little kid next to me, and he's just eating his popcorn. And I don't think he knew what to think.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was entertained. And he's just sucking on his pop going, what is going on?
Were you entertained, though?
Not particularly, but
I noticed you looking at your watch, actually.
Yeah, no. The thing is I thought this is a wonderful movie for families and for kids. And for me personally, the kind of movies I'm into, this is not the kind of movie that I would be like, hey, everybody got to see. But if I had a kid, I would definitely take them to see this movie, and I would recommend it on that fact.
Yeah.
I would like the movie more recommending it for children and all that. Even though it's a little darker, maybe children a little bit older.
Right, that can handle the idea of a grandparent passing or whatever. I mean, I guess that's why they build these you know,
story,
sort of dark
family elements.
Yeah,
in there.
to kind of condition us to the idea that things end and, you know, life moves in interesting ways, but we can't forget who's important to us.
I know, and for a little kid, your family is everything, your grandmother and all that.
Yeah.
And we have to talk about something that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
The animation is absolutely, it always is with Pixar.
Stunning, though.
But I almost forgot how fantastic they are. I was totally immersed, and we watched it in 3D.
Yeah.
And I took off my glasses at times in 3D, and I was like, oh no, put them back on. The 3D worked really, really well.
It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, and they got all of the sort of characterizations and the facial animations, and it is beautiful. And there's these weird spirit animals that are all super colorful and stuff. It does feel like there's formulaic elements in there, and also a little bit of cultural appropriation. But at least it's, you know, Latino, you know,
I have no
story makers
problem with
behind
that. I have
Latino
no problem with
actors
that.
and all that.
Yeah.
The music is definitely, you know, rooted in some cultural truths, but obviously homogenized for a more international audience.
For me, I was saying to you, for Pixar, it's so hard to come up with new material.
Yes.
And I love where they took us. I loved seeing all of this stuff, discovering this culture, and a lot of it I didn't know about.
Yes.
I didn't know about that you put pictures up and you remember your family,
Yeah.
or they'll disappear in the afterworld.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know. I think that is amazing. It's so cool.
There is another animated movie, though, that's called The Book of Life, and it is, you know, about the Day of the Dead and that kind of similar kind of thing. I actually prefer that movie.
I have not seen it.
It's a little more stop motion.
Right.
It also deals with some dark stuff. Ron Perlman's in that movie.
Yeah.
And I found that to be a little more fulfilling than this movie, but I think this is going to be more accessible than The Book of Life.
It's a strange mix of stuff. It's telling this beautiful, heartful family thing, and then this Day of the Dead stuff, and it's a strange mix. And for an entire family and for kids, it's a really unusual mix.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it will really work for kids. I'm not sure. They're going to be the ones to judge this, not me.
Yeah, I think this is less in the Cars, Toy Story, even Monsters University type of vein that Pixar also plays in, the super accessible stuff. This is closer to Up, and Up is a strange film, which I also believe is a classic, but it's a little twisted, it's a little weird, and there's some heaviness in that movie. This also, I was really sad at the end of this.
I must admit, I wasn't like fully invested, but at the end, even I felt the emotional punch of it.
I was crying.
I'm like, oh my God, you got me. I'm like, how did you get me?
They do.
It's unbelievable.
Get you. Yeah, they do get you. And it isn't as bleak as The Good Dinosaur, which was just ridiculously heavy for an animated movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great. I do think it's a classic. I do think that it will stand up to repeat viewings, and I do think that families should go. But you need to have you know, your kids need to be kind of ready to deal with
maybe some of the tough questions afterwards.
The heaviness of the afterlife, right?
Exactly. What are you going to give this movie?
I thought it was great. 8.5 out of 10.
Wow, I didn't like it as much. You know, I think it's great for families. For families, I would give it an 8. But for me personally, I'm giving it a 7.5.
Fair score.